The National Electrical Code, or NEC, Section 394, addresses concealed knob and tube wiring, but it is not applicable to existing knob and tube wiring in joist cavities. Section 300.15, which covers splices, does not specifically require a junction box for knob and tube splices. Section 314.3 addresses junction boxes for over 600 volts nominal, and is not applicable to residential wiring. Because the NEC does not explicitly require junction boxes for knob and tube splices in joist cavities, it is reasonable to conclude that they are not required, as long as the splices meet certain conditions. Firstly, they must be properly made and taped. Secondly, they must be accessible for inspection and maintenance. Thirdly, they must not be located in concealed or inaccessible areas. When dealing with electrical work, it is important to prioritize safety and address any concerns raised by home inspectors. It is also essential to use professional judgment to determine if junction boxes are necessary for safety or practical reasons, even if not explicitly required by code. If junction boxes are deemed necessary, Section 314.4 states that metal junction boxes must be grounded. Acceptable types of junction boxes include metal junction boxes, such as galvanized steel or cast iron, and non-metallic junction boxes listed for concealed locations. When installing junction boxes, ensure they are securely mounted close to the splices and remain accessible for inspection and maintenance. Considering the situation, if the splices are properly made and accessible, explain your reasoning to the home inspector, emphasizing the relevant NEC sections and your professional assessment. If junction boxes are required for safety or practical reasons, you see the metal or non-metallic boxes that are listed for concealed locations and ground them accordingly. Document your decision and the reasons for it in writing to provide a clear record of your assessment and actions. When evaluating knob and tube wiring, several factors should be taken into account. Firstly, the condition of the existing wiring should be assessed. Look for signs of damage, such as brittle insulation or loose connections. If the wiring is in poor condition, it may be necessary to replace it. Secondly, the presence of any modifications or alterations to the original wiring should be investigated. Improper modifications can create safety hazards and code violations. Thirdly, the overall electrical load on the circuit should be considered. Knob and tube wiring is typically rated for lower amperage than modern wiring, so it is important to ensure that the circuit is not overloaded. Furthermore, it is important to be aware of any local codes or regulations that may apply to knob and tube wiring. Some jurisdictions may have specific requirements for the inspection, repair, or replacement of knob and tube wiring. When working with knob and tube wiring, it is essential to follow safe work practices. Firstly, always de-energize the circuit before working on the wiring. Secondly, use appropriate personal protective equipment, such as gloves and eye protection. Thirdly, avoid touching any exposed wires or terminals. Fourthly, use caution when working in attics or other confined spaces, as knob and tube wiring may be difficult to access. Fifthly, when making splices, use approved connectors and techniques. Sixthly, insulate all splices properly to prevent electrical shock. If you are not comfortable working with knob and tube wiring, it is best to hire a qualified electrician. Working with electricity can be dangerous, and it is important to have the knowledge and skills necessary to do the job safely. When communicating with the home inspector, be prepared to explain your reasoning and provide documentation to support your position. It is important to maintain a professional and respectful attitude, even if you disagree with the home inspector's assessment. Remember that the goal is to ensure the safety of the occupants and the code compliance of the electrical system. In some cases, it may be necessary to compromise or negotiate with the home inspector to reach a mutually agreeable solution. For example, you may agree to install junction boxes in certain locations, even if they are not strictly required by code, to address the home inspector's concerns. In other cases, you may be able to provide additional information or documentation that satisfies the home inspector's concerns. Ultimately, the decision of whether or not to install junction boxes for knob and tube splices is a matter of professional judgment, based on the specific circumstances of the installation. By carefully considering the code requirements, safety concerns, and practical considerations, you can make an informed decision that is in the best interest of your client. It is also important to stay up to date on the latest code changes and industry best practices. The electrical code is constantly evolving, and it is important to be aware of any changes that may affect your work. There are many resources available to help you stay informed, such as industry publications, training courses, and online forums. By continuing to learn and improve your skills, you can provide your clients with the highest quality electrical services. Finally, remember that your reputation is one of your most valuable assets. By providing excellent service, maintaining high ethical standards, and communicating effectively with your clients, you can build a strong reputation that will serve you well throughout your career.